Attention, execute a strategic pause and observe this universal dynamic. Watch any group of men attempting to secure status at a social gathering, a business event, or even a local bar. You will see the same predictable pattern. They are all frantically competing, all desperately performing. One is aggressively showing off his assets. Another is loudly reciting his achievements. Someone else is flexing, attempting to physically dominate the space. They are all relentlessly fighting to be the loudest, most interesting, and most visible person in the room. But then your attention locks on to him, the man sitting back, arms composed, saying nothing. While everyone else performs like frantic circus animals, he is merely watching, calm, steady, and utterly unbothered. And here is the profound psychological twist. The high-value target they are all trying to impress keeps glancing his way. Not at the loud performers, not at the show-offs, but at the quiet one. Why? Because he possesses the most dangerous trait of all, something that cannot be bought, cannot be faked, and cannot be acquired overnight. This trait has nothing to do with money, nothing to do with looks, and nothing to do with status. But it is exponentially more powerful than all those superficial things combined. Most men never learn this secret because they are too busy chasing everything else, too busy trying to be noticed instead of mastering the fundamental skill of commanding respect. The trait of gravitas, what that man possessed, was the core principle the ancient masters understood. Gravitas. The rare, profound ability to command respect without ever demanding it, to influence decisions without trying to overtly control the conversation, to lead purely through presence. It is the foundation that every emperor, every king, and every truly powerful strategist throughout history understood. It is the secret that weak men miss because they are too consumed by making noise to appreciate the silent, enduring power of stillness. Machiavelli wrote about leaders who could manage entire kingdoms simply through their established presence, men who could end fierce arguments without uttering a single word and inspire loyalty without making elaborate promises. This was not magic. This was understanding human psychology at its deepest, most effective level. Machiavelli stated the absolute truth about self-command. He who is not master of himself will always be a servant of others. This video is the blueprint for mastering yourself, thus building the internal structure necessary for genuine gravitas. You cannot fake this aura. It must be forged from the inside out through relentless self-control and discipline. Now, drop this affirmation in the comments and commit to the discipline. My silence is my strength. My presence is my leverage. Number 1. Emotional immunity. The vast majority of men are nothing more than emotional ping-pong balls. An external stimulus, whether it is someone saying something intentionally harsh, launching an unfair professional criticism, or attempting a deliberate personal provocation, causes them to instantly bounce back with uncontrolled anger or a frantic, visible defense. They allow this external force to successfully upset them every single time, and this fundamental emotional fragility makes them completely easy to read, easy to control, and devastatingly easy to manipulate. The truly strong individual, however, cultivates something fundamentally different: emotional immunity. They enforce an ironclad mental barrier, meticulously ensuring that other people's volatile words, chaotic actions, or negative energy cannot breach their inner peace. They remain rock solid, a fixed point of reference, regardless of the chaos raging around them. Machiavelli defined the absolute priority of the leader. A prince ought to have no other aim or thought than war and its organization. For the modern strategist, that war is the relentless daily battle for emotional control. Every day, external forces and adversaries will attempt to knock you off balance. They will test your limits, provoke your insecurities and try to force a predictable, exploitable reaction. Your primary strategic job, therefore, is to remain unmoved. This crucial discipline is not about becoming cold or eliminating human feeling. It is about choosing precisely which emotions you will display and the exact moment you will display them, making every outward expression a calculated tool. Imagine a scenario where a colleague, perhaps seeking to undermine your authority, publicly launches a cutting, personal insult at you in a high-stakes meeting. The emotional ping-pong ball immediately fires back a defensive, angry retort, confirming that the insult landed exactly where intended and instantly granting the colleague leverage. Conversely, the master of immunity executes the ultimate strategic countermove. You pause. You take a deliberate, slow breath. You might even execute a slight, confident, almost imperceptible smile before responding with cold, measured calm. That controlled response is exponentially more powerful than any angry comeback. It shows the entire room that you cannot be rattled and that you are operating on a psychological level entirely separate from everyone else. People reserve their profound respect only for what they genuinely cannot control. When you prove that their cheap words cannot affect your internal state, they automatically view you as strategically and morally stronger than they are. Number 2, strategic withdrawal. The majority of men operate under a catastrophic delusion. They are universally available, perpetually present, and desperately trying to be included in every conversation and social event. They falsely believe that visibility equals importance. They are profoundly mistaken. Strong men understand the silent, devastating power of strategic absence. You have no strategic mandate to be at every gathering, nor must you instantly reply to every message. Sometimes the most potent action you can execute is simply not being there. Machiavelli warned against the peril of overexposure, stating, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand." When your presence is a constant, common commodity, you become predictable and ordinary. Conversely, when your presence is selectively deployed, you instantly become valuable and sought after. The psychology of scarcity. This strategic principle operates universally. The friend who is always available becomes utterly taken for granted. The individual who is selective with their time becomes instantly appreciated. The man who responds to every text message instantly signals desperation. The man who deliberately takes his time signals high value because he is genuinely busy and pursuing greater priorities. Strong men understand that scarcity is the engine of value. When you are universally accessible, always responding, and always available, you render yourself common, predictable, and ultimately forgettable. You must learn to withdraw strategically to command demand. To achieve this, deploy strategic withdrawal in every domain. In a social scenario, you should never wait until the energy has peaked and conversation stalls. Leave the party while the engagement is still high, or end a conversation while the other party still has questions. This creates a powerful psychological deficit. You make people want more of you, not less. In a professional scenario, if a colleague sends a non-urgent email, the weak man replies in 5 minutes. The strategist replies only after a calculated delay of several hours. This is not rudeness. This strategically teaches the recipient that your time is a finite resource, forcing them to prioritize their next message and simultaneously increasing the weight of your eventual response. You transform yourself into a commodity that is prized by picking and choosing when and where you appear. This forces others to pay attention, to wonder what grand strategy you are executing while absent, and to genuinely appreciate you when you decide to grant them your presence. Your absence is a strategic tool. Use it to increase your value. Number 3. Add value to your words. The vast majority of men talk too much. They compulsively fill every silence with random, low-value thoughts, and they freely dispense opinions on subjects that hold no consequence for them. They operate under the grand delusion that more words automatically equate to more influence. They are fundamentally mistaken. Confident men understand that words are high-value weapons, and a true strategist never wastes good ammunition on insignificant fights. Before you permit yourself to utter a single word, you must subject that thought to ruthless scrutiny. Does this actually need to be said? Am I the most authoritative person to say it? Is right now the moment of maximum strategic impact? If the answer to any of these questions is negative, your strategic mandate is to remain silent. The intelligence of listening Machiavelli gave us a primary metric for assessing leadership. The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. I propose an immediate amendment. The first method for estimating a man's strategic intelligence is to calculate how much he talks versus how much he listens. When you deliberately practice verbal parsimony, several powerful psychological mechanisms engage. First, gravity. People pay exponentially more attention when you finally do speak, because your words are a rare event. Second, foresight. They assume your thoughts are more carefully considered and therefore possess greater strategic weight. Third, information flow. They start sharing more valuable information with you because you are not competing for the microphone. The man who talks constantly becomes mere background noise. The man who speaks occasionally and with precision becomes someone worth listening to. This discipline requires being intentional. Your goal is to eliminate noise without eliminating your presence. Consider the meeting minefield. You are in a discussion where a solution is desperately needed. The noisy men fill the air with unhelpful suggestions, debating each other. You remain silent, observing and listening. When the moment of highest confusion arrives, you deploy a single, well-structured insight that decisively pivots the discussion toward the correct conclusion. Your one sentence, backed by silence, holds more strategic weight than their hour of rambling. Similarly, in the advice trap, someone asks for advice and you offer it, but you stop filling pauses just because they exist. You stop sharing thoughts that add zero value, and you stop talking simply to hear the sound of your own voice. Your words are valuable. Treat them as such, and they will become the most potent tools in your arsenal. Number 4. Physical presence. The confident strategist understands a critical, non-negotiable truth. Communication is rarely about the mere 7% of words you utter. The remaining 93% is body language, vocal tone, and the raw impact of your physical presence. Most men commit the catastrophic error of focusing solely on what to say, while fatally ignoring how they carry themselves. This is backward strategy. Your posture speaks an entire volume before your mouth ever opens. Your unwavering eye contact communicates intent before you formulate a single word. Your fundamental energy dictates the psychological temperature of the room before you make a sound. Machiavelli defined the immutable law of perception. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Your immediate physical presence, therefore, is the primary filter through which all subsequent interactions will be judged, regardless of your actual competence. The blueprint for unspoken authority. You must command the space you occupy. Stand like you own the room, not with vulgar arrogance, but with quiet, absolute confidence. Keep your shoulders aggressively back, your chin level, and ensure every movement is deliberate, never rushed. When you enter a space, move as if your arrival is both necessary and inevitable, signaling that you belong there. Your self-discipline must be visible in the small, critical details. You must master eye contact, making direct, non-challenging engagement, but never staring. You must maintain focus. When someone speaks to you, turn and face them fully. Most importantly, you must exhibit stillness. Do not fidget. Stop shifting your weight constantly. Never nervously check your phone or watch. These seemingly small nervous tells communicate massive messages of discomfort and insecurity to the unconscious mind. The majority of men project a terrible physical presence. They slouch, avoid eye contact, and fidget nervously, transmitting insecurity louder than any verbal plea. The non-verbal verdict and strategic stillness. The man who understands power knows that physical stillness is an active form of communication. When you master your physical presence, you communicate unshakable confidence before you even speak. People sense your self-assurance immediately, and they instinctively adjust their behavior to align with the power you project. To see the stark contrast, picture a critical meeting where a major decision is being made about your future. The nervous man sits hunched and small, nervously tapping a pen or repeatedly checking his phone. The immediate non-verbal message received is, "I am insecure, easily influenced, and my time is disposable." This invites low expectations and casual dismissal. The master of presence sits up straight, feet flat on the floor, hands resting lightly and still on the table. He meets every gaze and is utterly still. The nonverbal message received is, "I am in control, my self-respect is non-negotiable, and I expect to be taken seriously." This posture instantly elevates his credibility, even before the discussion begins. When you adopt this stillness, you are signaling that your mind is so occupied with high-level strategy that minor physical discomfort or social anxiety cannot penetrate your defenses. You are presenting an impenetrable facade of competence. Your mastery of your body is the ultimate proof that you are master of yourself. And when you achieve that mastery, people cannot help but adjust their behavior to align with the power you project. Number 5. The master of detachment. The vast majority of men are structurally compromised, rendered fragile by their attachment to specific results. They operate under the delusion that they need the date to succeed, they need the conversation to be flawlessly successful, or they need people to validate them and grant approval. This profound, palpable neediness is not merely a vulnerability. It is a psychological force that visibly radiates from them and actively repels the very success they crave. Strong men cultivate something fundamentally superior. They learn to care deeply and commit fully without becoming dependent, to strive relentlessly without descending into desperation, and to want things profoundly without suffering a total collapse if the outcome is denied. Machiavelli observed that power is often about seizing the moment, declaring, "Fortune is a woman, and it is necessary if you wish to master her, to conquer her by force." The core strategic insight, however, lies in the evolution of that mandate. The true mastery comes from a deeper understanding. It comes from not needing to master her at all. When you are liberated from the desperate need for a specific outcome, you immediately perform better. You negotiate from a position of strength, and you paradoxically attract more success simply because you are not radiating anxiety. The magnetic field of non-neediness, this state of strategic detachment, is intensely visible in every arena of human interaction. The desperation to control the outcome is what makes people anxious, predictable, and thus easy to influence. When you project the opposite, an air of nonchalance combined with commitment, you become magnetically attractive. Consider the dating scenario. The man who is internally convinced he needs the woman to like him becomes anxious, rushed, boring, and utterly predictable. Conversely, the man who is genuinely curious about her as a person, but is internally and visibly fine if no connection forms, who treats the potential rejection as data, not a verdict, instantly becomes magnetic. His self-possession and respect for his own time attract her interest because he is not giving his power away. In a social scenario, this difference is stark. The man who desperately seeks the group's approval says things he doesn't mean, laughs too loud at flat jokes, and is perpetually performing. The man who is unfailingly comfortable being himself, regardless of the group's reaction, draws people into his orbit naturally. He is a fixed point of confidence in a sea of insecurity. This posture doesn't mean you are apathetic, but it signals that you prioritize doing your best work while accepting that the external outcome is not a personal measure of your worth. You work relentlessly, then let events play out exactly as they must. The structural defense against desperation. The moment you become desperate for approval or success, you are psychologically compromised. This desperation translates to making unnecessary concessions in negotiations, accepting poor treatment in relationships, and compromising your values to secure a short-term win. To eliminate this vulnerability, you must build structural defenses, develop alternatives. The true source of detachment is having viable options. You are not desperate for this one contract, this one job, or this one relationship, because you have already cultivated other strong Plan B and Plan C opportunities. Internalize value. Your self-worth must be an internal constant derived from your discipline, integrity, and competence, not from a person's compliment or a market's fluctuating valuation. Practice conscious release. When an expected outcome fails, you must consciously and immediately separate the fact of the failure from the feeling of disappointment. Accept the fact the contract was lost. Process the feeling, temporary frustration, and then pivot to the next strategic move. When you eliminate the desperation for things to go a certain way, you create mental space for them to often unfold better than you expected. When you consciously stop chasing approval, you automatically receive more respect. When you stop being desperate for success, you become significantly more likely to achieve it. This state of being unattached to the immediate result is the ultimate expression of inner stability, and it is the only way to ensure that you remain the master of your own destiny. Number 6. Cultivate unyielding inner stability. The majority of men are tragically exposed, living as nothing more than boats without anchors. They drift helplessly, allowing their internal state to be entirely dictated by the strongest external current, permitting their mood to become a slave to circumstance, and watching their confidence fluctuate wildly based on other people's transient opinions. Their energy is perpetually consumed by the chaotic events happening around them. The truly strong individual, however, possesses something fundamentally superior: rock-solid inner stability. They remain perfectly centered, an immovable object irrespective of the external storm. Their confidence is an internal constant, impervious to external validation, and their peace is decisively not contingent upon the world conforming to their predetermined plans. This state of self-governance is the highest form of power. Machiavelli issued the necessary warning against this fatal lack of realism. He who neglects what is done for what ought to be done sooner affects his ruin than his preservation. The strategic truth is that you cannot control the unpredictable events surrounding you, but you possess absolute sovereign control over your response to those events. You must abandon the fantasy of external perfection and focus on internal fortification, the architecture of inner strength. This essential inner stability is not granted. It is meticulously forged through disciplined self-knowledge and relentless adherence to core principles. It begins with knowing precisely who you are and what you stand for. When your values and principles are crystal clear, external chaos simply cannot find the leverage point to shake you. When your self-respect is genuine and deep-seated, the chaotic opinions of others lose all power over your internal state. You must build this internal structure through non-negotiable daily practices. This foundation is comprised of several interlocking disciplines. Physical discipline, which requires you to exercise consistently, not just for physical well-being, but primarily to strengthen the vital link between your body and your strategic mind. You must maintain mental rigor by reading and studying material that actively challenges your thinking and forces intellectual growth. You must conduct a self-audit, dedicating structured time alone deliberately to analyze and understand your deeper motivations and recurring patterns. And finally, you must pursue verifiable competence, developing skills that provide genuine, undeniable confidence that cannot be debated or easily dismissed. The man who achieves this inner stability validates himself. He requires no perfect circumstances because he is the architect of his own internal peace. He is already whole and requires no external completion. This self-sufficiency is the ultimate declaration of psychological power, the magnetic anchor and commanding deference. This stability, once established, is intensely magnetic. People are instinctively drawn to those who remain calm during a storm and who appear utterly unshakable. They seek out individuals who radiate control and respect, those who clearly do not need external approval to maintain their composure. Imagine the ultimate test scenario. A corporate crisis hits, a major account is lost, or a system has failed. The pressure is immediate, and the environment is volatile. The weak manager panics, blames others, and frantically seeks reassurance from staff, thus magnifying the crisis energy. The stable strategist, however, remains perfectly composed. They shift the focus immediately, stating calmly, "This happened. It is regrettable. Now, what is the next logical step, and what is our contingency?" In that pivotal moment, the entire room, regardless of rank or formal title, instinctively defers to the calm individual. Their unshakable presence transforms them from a mere participant into the essential anchor of command. This commanding deference is not earned through aggression. It is a natural, inevitable response to demonstrated self-control. Your ability to remain stable while the world collapses around you ensures that you are seen as the solution, the person fit to lead. Every time you refuse to be swept away by an emotional current, you reinforce this image of an individual who is structurally superior. The goal is to make your internal stability the most obvious, undeniable fact about your presence. Number 7, mastering controlled intensity. The majority of men fall into one of two predictable and easily exploitable psychological states. They are either perpetually too intense, wasting energy on trivialities, or catastrophically not intense enough, missing critical opportunities. They have utterly failed to learn the fundamental strategic discipline of modulating their energy based on the situation's actual demand. The truly strong man, however, masters controlled intensity. They possess the rare, essential capacity to be completely relaxed, reserved, and observant when the moment calls for intelligence gathering, and then instantly laser-focused, decisive, and aggressive when action is required. They know precisely when to deploy the calm man watching everything, and when to unleash the full force making the non-negotiable decisive move. Machiavelli defined this critical, necessary duality for absolute survival. A prince must imitate the fox and the lion. The fox to recognize traps, and the lion to frighten wolves. The modern strategist must be both, calm, patient, and observant when gathering intelligence, and immediately decisive, focused, and powerful when executing action. This balance ensures that you are never caught unaware, and you always possess the maximum force required for victory. The strategic application of energy and focus. This controlled intensity does not manifest in chaotic volatility. It demands precision. In casual social conversations, you are deliberately easygoing and reserved, conserving your mental resources. In critical business discussions, you are visibly focused and intensely engaged. In crisis situations, you are outwardly calm, but inwardly immediately decisive. The core strategic mandate is this: you do not waste high, finite energy on stupid, low-stakes situations. You absolutely forbid yourself from bringing low, scattered energy to high-stakes, important moments. You meticulously match your intensity to the measurable demands of the moment. This discipline prevents energy hemorrhaging. Think of the energy audit scenario. You are internally exhausted from a long week, and a friend calls with a low-value request for a favor. The weak man forces high energy, says a resentful yes, and depletes his reserves. The master of intensity maintains a low, firm, and relaxed tone, declines the request with a clear boundary, and successfully conserves his energy. Later, when a critical professional opportunity arises, the moment of true consequence, he deploys full, focused, high energy, giving the important task his total, undivided concentration. You are not exhausting yourself by being intense about everything. You are not missing opportunities by being too laid back about crucial moments. People respect this quality because it broadcasts profound emotional intelligence and total self-control. They see that you can adapt to different situations while remaining authentically committed to your objectives. Save your intensity for moments that truly matter. Stay relaxed when the stakes are low. This balance is what separates the strategically confident from the perpetually performing masses. The dangers of misplaced intensity. Misplaced intensity is a profound tactical error. If you deploy high energy, loud volume, aggressive posture, rigid insistence on a low-stakes conflict, you have not only wasted energy, but you have miscalibrated your warning signal. When a true threat arrives, you have no higher gear to shift into. Conversely, if you approach a high-stakes negotiation with low, indifferent energy, you signal a lack of seriousness or competence, inviting the adversary to walk over your position. Your goal is to be a master conductor, raising and lowering the orchestra of your energy to fit the score of the moment. This makes you incredibly effective, as you are always operating at the optimal energy level required for success. The ultimate source of confidence and power, you now possess the knowledge that most men will miss entirely. True confidence is not about being the loudest, the flashiest, or the most entertaining person in the room. True confidence is about inner stability that cannot be shaken. It is about emotional immunity that cannot be penetrated. It is about controlled intensity that adapts to any situation. This is the essence of what Machiavelli understood about the core of power. Your strength doesn't come from external validation. It comes entirely from internal mastery. To begin developing this mastery, you must actively track and correct your internal weaknesses. Notice when you're reacting emotionally instead of responding thoughtfully. Observe how often you're talking versus strategically listening. Pay attention to your physical presence and the energy you bring to different situations. The majority will continue chasing external validation, performing for approval, and remaining emotional ping-pong balls, perpetually vulnerable to manipulation. But you can be different. You can develop the kind of quiet, commanding confidence that compels respect without having to beg for it, and the inner strength that influences others without trying to control them. Mastering these principles ensures that your stability is your power and your controlled intensity is your secret weapon. Use them wisely. You will never need to chase respect again. It will come to you naturally as a direct byproduct of who you have chosen to become. Your inner fortress will be so strong that nothing external can knock you off balance. Your confidence should come from who you are, not from what others think of you. Your peace should come from inner stability, not from perfect circumstances. Your power should come from self-mastery, not from controlling others. Your stability is your power. Your controlled intensity is your secret weapon. Use them wisely.